Good morning. I think that's on. Good morning. I'm Marge, a Unity in Lynnwood prayer chaplain, and I'm happy to welcome all of you this morning for our time of silent meditation. Whether you're here in our chancel or in our virtual online community, welcome. We cherish this sacred time on Sunday morning as we come together to share the powerful frequency of meditation. This is our time to create sacred space, here in the chancel and out to you online. So I invite you to settle with comfort into your chairs or wherever you're sitting. Take several deep breaths and let them out with a sigh. If you like, close your outer eyes. Drop your breath down into your heart and slow your breathing. Just rest. Rest and let your heart fill with spirit. There's nothing you have to do right now, nothing you have to plan or be responsible for in these next few sacred minutes. This is your time of nourishment, your time to become refreshed. Let spirit nurture you as you go into the silence. Gently bring yourselves back into this physical space. Breathe deeply as you gently open your outer eyes. Embrace the knowing that you are on the path of light, even when you cannot see the way. Trust that God is opening the way before you and bathing you in light. And please join me as we bless our musicians and speakers, and grateful blessings to the many people whose contributions to the creation of this service is so important. And we carry that blessing to ourselves, whether here in our chancel or in our virtual congregation. And so it is, and so it is. Amen.
Good morning, everyone. Good to see you. Welcome, welcome. At this table, everyone is welcome. At this table, everyone is seen. At this table, everybody matters. No one falls between. At this table, You can say whatever. At this table, you can speak your mind. At this table, everything's forgiven. There's enough for everyone. So come as you are. Remember that the door is always open. Yes, come as you are. The perfect gift that you can bring is your heart. So come as you are. At this table, there will be no judgment. At this table, mercy has its seat. At this table, we're all sons and daughters. No place that I'd rather be. So come as you are. Just remember that the door is always open. Yes, come as you are. Oh, the perfect gift that you can bring is your heart. So come as you are.
Let's begin this morning by closing our eyes and going within. In this moment, let go of judgment, of yourself, of others, of the state of the world. Just let it go for a moment. Imagine yourself floating above all that so that it all seems small from your heightened perspective. Your ties to the judgments of this world are cut for now, and you are free to fly, to float on your back and gaze at the sky. So beautiful. Without judgment, the chattering mind has no fuel. It deflates like a punctured balloon. Who are we anyway? Are we our judgments? Are others how we judge them to be? No. We and they are divinely inspired beings, so much vaster and more glorious than our daily vision allows. Let us be ourselves in this moment, our true, expansive, loving, divine selves. Without judgment, we allow grace into our hearts. Grace, that most holy of blessings, enfolds us in unending love. It's a powerful love, unconditionally caring. It created us and carries us through life. Allow grace in. Float in the wonder of creation. Breathe. Simply be.
So come as you are. Just remember that the door is always open. Yes, come as you are. The perfect gift that you can bring is your heart. So come as you are. Come as you are. Everybody's welcome at this table. Everybody cares at this table. Everybody matters. So come pull up a chair. Good morning, everyone. I got to speak at my daughter's school recently, and I said, "Hi, everybody," and they're like, "Hi, Steve." So that's good. Give you a chance to get up and elbow, or, well, not elbow, but elbows or hands or namaste, whatever is peaceful for you. So. Well, I'm in the right place at the right time, just where I'm supposed to be. I'm in the right place at the right time, just where I'm supposed to be. Oh, my soul is welcome here. Oh, my soul is welcome here. And I'm getting the message loud and clear. My soul is welcome here. See, I'm in the right place at the right time. I'm just where I'm supposed to be. I'm in the right place at the right time, just where I'm supposed to be. Oh, my soul is welcome here. Oh, my soul is welcome here. I am getting the message loud and clear. My soul is welcome. I am getting the message loud and clear. My soul is welcome here.
Oh, the sing-along first.
As you are finding your way back from the elbow injuries, whatever it is, give us a chance here and sing a song that we can all sing on. The words to the chorus, there's two of them, which I like that. Keep it simple, right? So this is called Rise Up. With all the challenges and everything that goes on in the world, sometimes it's good to remember that it starts here. It starts raising our own vibration and not worrying about what color states are or TV channels are on. So when we get to the Rise Up, it goes, rise up, just like that. And we'll do it more than 73 times. I never pledged allegiance to the few. No, that was our grand old flag. Each star in a sea it flew. Aiding other nations, we were proud. But then we backed them into corners. You know what that's about. It's about money and power. Those nations used to cower. We pushed too many times. Today, guess who you'll find? That's us in the corner, holding to democracy's dream. Remember, by the people, for the people. It almost vanished, it seems. So does the dream become a nightmare for me and you? This world has everything, now it's only for the few. What do we do? What we gonna do? Rise up, raise your vibration. Rise up, lifting our creation. Rise up, we can heal this place. Rise up, the human race. It's not a question of thriving, maybe simply surviving where there's something we haven't been trying and it's not brand new. We've tried warring and fighting and anger and insults, weapons and words, expecting different results. What do? What we gonna do? Rise up, raise your vibration. Rise up, lifting our creation. Rise up, oh, we can heal this place. Rise up, all the human race. So let's rise in peace. Don't fall down on your knees, 'cause in the darkest night we can shine so bright. Rise up, raise your vibration. Rise up, lifting our creation. Rise up, we can heal this place. Rise up, all the human race. Come on, rise up, raise your vibration. Rise up, lifting our creation. Rise up, we can heal this place. Rise up, all the human race. Rise up, raise your vibration. Rise up, raise your vibration. Rise up, raise your vibration. Rise up.
Thank you, Steve. Thanks, the band. Thanks, it was fun. Good morning. My name is Sally West, and I'm happy to welcome you all here to Unity in Lynnwood today. Whether in the sanctuary or listening online, we're happy you're here. Unity offers a space for exploration that seeks to free an individual's spiritual potential, rather than define and limit it with set dogma. Whether you're from a particular religious background or none at all, your inner journey is honored here. If you wish to find people who will listen with openness to your story, you're in the right place. The richness of life experiences in this community is profound, and each person brings more depth and wonder to us all. We celebrate the diversity of humanity. With open arms, Unity welcomes all genders, sexual orientations, and family structures, all races, cultures, and ethnicities. We hope you will find the freedom, feel the freedom to breathe into your own individual experience with us today, the freedom to be yourself. Enjoy, and thanks.
So when I heard the topic today, which, that's right, we don't publish the topic. It's a big double secret thing. So, remember when Nina had her celebration here and she became a minister? Were any of you in the room at the time? Our good friend Linda Spencer was in the room. Linda's up at the Skagit Valley Unity. And I was playing at their church back in December, and she had gone through a bunch of medical stuff for quite a while, and and only the way she could have come up with it, she said, you know, I finally figured out as a control freak that the ducks are never in a row. So this whole idea of getting ducks in a row, she said, having to turn over control to a medical community, that was a big thing for a control freak, she said. She said they're usually strewn all over the road. That's where the ducks are. And all you can do is allow for love and clarity was her big takeaway from. And I'm like, well, I better write that down so because I want to remember it. So this is affectionately called Ducks. I've weathered storms in life throughout, tripped up, torn, and tossed about. Thought I'd gain some immunity, but those thunderclouds form again. I can see them just because I made it through a downpour or more than a few times. I feel so ill-prepared. Still, I make God laugh with the plans I share. Sometimes our ducks are in a row. All too often they're strewn all over the road. When darkness comes, you can't see your hand before your face. It's hard to learn, the light returns, the dawn of some new day. So what to do about the ducks on the road? All the chaos in life can be just like a nighttime marathon, running in the darkness on and on and on. Sing hallelujah when the light returns. It's a life lesson worth the learning. Leave those ducks, let them be. Allow for love and clarity. Just leave those ducks, let them be. Allow for love and clarity. Sometimes our ducks are in a row. All too often they're strewn and are wandering all over the road. When darkness comes, you can't see your hand before your face. It's hard to learn, the light will return, the dawn of some new day. What to do about the ducks on the road? All the chaos in life can be just like a nighttime marathon, running in the dark on and on and on. Sing hallelujah when the light returns, a life lesson worth the learning. Leave those ducks, let them be. Allow for love and clarity. Just leave those ducks, let them be. Allow for love and clarity. Leave those ducks, let them be. Allow for love.
Thank you, Steve. That was wonderful, and you will find out even more of how perfect that was. So, great selection. Good morning, everyone. I am Jennifer Lovejoy. It is my pleasure to be here with you this morning. I want to welcome those of you who are here in our sanctuary, as well as those online. And boy, I tell you, there is a lot of good stuff happening at Unity in Lynnwood right now. We have got things happening in our community. You'll hear a bit later on. We've got our picnic next Sunday, so be sure to plan for that. We've got an amazing healing service happening this Wednesday. You'll hear more about that. Next 2 Sundays, we've got David MacArthur coming back to speak to us. He's one of the founders of HeartMath, and he's been here a couple times this summer, and I know folks just love his speaking, so be sure you show up for the next couple Sundays to hear him talk about that. And big announcement, we have gotten ourselves a wonderful new piano player and vocalist who will be joining us on September 1st. Her name is Kelly Ash, and she'll be joining Chris and Scott in our band. And so it's going to be really lovely to have that piano getting used again and have a wonderful singer. So more to come about her, but I did want to let you know that we are already looking forward to a really amazing fall of just musical excellence with Kelly. So more to come. So, as part of our welcome, I want to turn to our folks on social media, and they're on the screen back there if you want to look. Some names. Thank you all for putting your names in there, and thank you, Callie, for managing all this. We've got Ursula in Florida, and Judy, we've got our Florida contingent here today. Colleen and Michael, Lynette and Tom, Randa, Lori, Michelle, and Tori from the Fred Meyer parking lot. Go, Tori. We love you, Tori. Tori is the most amazing volunteer. She does so much around here, and the shuttle ministry is just one of the many, many things that she does. So thank you so much, Tori. So if you would join me in welcoming and sending some love to our virtual audience by turning to this camera over here and the lovely Fran Curley. Good morning, Fran. And let's just say to those folks in our virtual world, good morning. Good morning. We see you. We love you. And we're grateful you're part of our community. All right. Thank you so much. All right. Rise up. Okay. Well, we always start on Sundays with our mission statement. Our mission statement is so central to who we are, to what we do, that we don't ever want to forget it. And so we say it every Sunday. This mission statement has been with us since our Board of Trustees developed it back in 2014, and the current Board of Trustees has added a little bit to the value statements that we'll say, but the mission statement is simple and easy and profound. Practical spirituality, welcoming community. That is what we endeavor to do. And so we talk about our value statements that support that every week. And this week we've got value statement number 1. We offer a metaphysical teaching which encourages regular spiritual practice, including prayer, meditation, affirmation, denial, service, and study. And if we all just did all of those things, how amazing life would be, right? What a rich palette of spiritual practices that really can enrich our lives. So we also every week say our invocation, which is an opportunity for us to tune within, to tune into that divine that is within and around us. And so I invite you to experience this however you choose. You can say it aloud. You can close your eyes and just take it in. You can whisper it. You can really deal with it however you like. And it goes like this. Though imaged and named variously, there is a singular and eternal ground of being from which all life emanates and into which all life retreats. We choose to call this ground of being God. By extension, we come to understand that we are spiritual in nature, human in expression, and limitless in potential. We gather today to remember such truths, to celebrate our unity, and to honor all life. So, we're going to do something a little bit radical today. You guys up for a little bit of radical today? Okay. So today I want to talk about Christianity. Now, Christianity kind of has a bad rap at the moment in many circles. There are those who say that we know a lot of Christians are leaving the church. I found a quote online that said something to the effect of, the number one reason for the rise in atheism in the world is Christianity. Now, what was interesting about that quote is that I could not figure out exactly who it was attributed to, because it had been attributed to at least 4 different people, all of them leading teachers, priests, theologians, and so there's concern, I think it's fair to say, within Christianity about where the movement is today. And I think a lot of that concern goes back to not really understanding the beginnings. So today I want to talk a little bit about history, the history of Christianity, and kind of how we got where we are and what we want to do. So you can imagine poor Steve last week, and he said, well, what's your talk about? And I said, well, it's about the history of Christianity. And I was like, okay, let's see what we can do with that. But I said, well, but it is actually a bit broader than that, because I think there's a reason that we need to talk about this in terms of, who are we talking about when we talk about the figure that was Jesus? What did Jesus teach? And why does it matter today? So those are the things that I want to talk about. It is relevant, I think, not only to us culturally, it's relevant in the unity movement. And I will come back to that in a bit, because there's a lot of discussion and debate in the unity movement right now about the role of Christianity and the role of Jesus. And part of this, for me, comes down to, can we go beyond specific words? And I think this starts to get into some of what we've heard this morning and some of what Steve sung about as well, that, I do define myself as a Christian, and I'm aware that there are other people who define themselves as Christian who would not consider me a Christian at all. And I think that there are many who can possibly relate to that. So, my question, I think, in setting this up this morning is, have we possibly thrown the baby out with the bathwater when we think about Christianity? Look at that little dude. He's just... he does have a duck, but I still think he's like, really? Really? What are you going to do here? So, one thing that I think is important to realize is that from the very beginning, there were differences of opinion, I'll put it that way, about what Christianity is and what it teaches. So this is nothing new. Even in Judaism, there was a lot of difference, and there were different sects, different divisions of Judaism. And, these are things that if you've read the Bible, you're familiar with. The Sadducees, the Pharisees, those were major divisions within Judaism that taught a specific thing and espoused a different thing. We read about them in the Bible. Jesus tended to be rather critical at times of the Sadducees and the Pharisees. What you don't ever find in the Bible is reference to a third major sect at the time of Jesus, which was the Essenes. The Essenes, how many people have heard about the Essenes? Okay, so lots. The Essenes were a more mystical sect within Judaism. They had communal living. They were unique in not believing in slavery at the time. They were the only major Jewish sect at the time that did not adopt slavery, because they believed that all people were equal and that slavery should not be condoned. They also did not believe in killing animals. And so while we don't know for sure that they were vegetarian, there is some suggestion of that. And so the question that has come up, and scholars debate, and we don't know the answer, is, was Jesus perhaps an Essene? Experts believe that John the Baptist, who was Jesus' cousin, was very likely a member of an Essene community, but we don't really have evidence that Jesus was, except to say that a lot of stuff that he taught, that we know of his teachings, seems to resonate with that. So already during the time of Jesus, there were these different beliefs and different structures that were in existence. So then what happened? I think many of us have this idea about the early history of Christianity. If you ever went to a Sunday school class or took a theology class or everything, it goes something like this. Jesus had 12 apostles. He made those 12 apostles the head of the church. Peter was probably the main head of the church. Everything was pretty unified and idyllic. Everyone believed the same thing. The Roman Emperor Constantine at some point decided to convert to Christianity. And at some point he said, well, we need a Bible, we need to codify this. And so he put together the Council of Nicaea, and the Council of Nicaea said this is what Christians believe, and everything went on in a lovely way until at some point all these different divisions of Christianity happened, right? I mean, this is kind of what we're taught and what the prevalent belief is. But it's actually not really the way it was. So if we look at the first, call it 100 years after Jesus' crucifixion, there were still, Christianity, of course, was not Christianity. It was part of Judaism. And so Jesus was a Jew. He was a devout Jew. And the Christians who followed his teachings, even after his death and resurrection, were still part of the Jewish community. It simply became another sect within Judaism. They still went to temple, they still studied the Torah. They did meet on Sundays to do communion in honor of the teachings of Jesus, but they were Jewish. Gradually, that began to change, and more separation between what became Christianity and Judaism happened. However, there were two major divisions, if you will, two major lines. One was the Orthodox line that kind of went along the line of what I just read about what we learned in Sunday school, okay? They were aligned with the Roman Empire. Their goal was to make sure that Christianity could be simplified, that it could be made available to common people, and most of all, that the Romans, who were really trying to stomp out the Christians, were not successful in doing so. And so that, entailed a fair amount of political posturing, if you will. The other major group at the time are called the Gnostic Christians. And the Gnostic Christians, the word Gnostic comes from a Greek word gnosis, which means awareness or knowingness. Now, I specifically put the word knowingness rather than knowledge. It sometimes gets interpreted as knowledge, but knowledge we think of as intellectual knowledge, learning. What gnosis means is actually more of the intuitive, more of the feminine. And in fact, gnosis is a feminine verb, or a feminine noun, rather, in Greek. And so it is that intuitive knowing, that knowing within. So there was a huge, major sect of Christianity that were these Gnostic Christians. And what Gnostic Christians believed, they had a conviction that direct, personal, and absolute knowledge of authentic truths of existence is accessible to human beings, and moreover, that attainment of such knowledge is the supreme achievement of human life. I'm going to read that again. Gnostic Christians held a conviction that direct, personal, and absolute knowledge of the authentic truths of existence is accessible to human beings, and that attainment of such knowledge is the supreme achievement of human life. In other words, they tuned within. They believed that the divine truths were accessible to anyone who sought them and who tuned within. And so, as you might imagine, this was in direct conflict with the Orthodox Christians who, were very much saying that it was only the apostles that had that right, and that after the apostles it was only the bishops and the priests who were ordained and kind of came down that lineage from the apostles. It became a matter of spiritual authority and control, and who had that spiritual authority and control. Basically, Gnostic Christianity gave a theological justification for refusing to obey the priests and the bishops. This did not go over well. And so what happened in the next, say, 50 to 100 years, about AD 150 to 200, was the backlash against Gnostic Christians by the Orthodox Christians. And, there are many writings from this time from Orthodox writers and priests and bishops who said why this was bad, why this was terrible, why this was heresy. These were in fact not Christians. And by around AD 2000, it was largely starting to be, the Orthodox view was taking over. Gnostic Christianity was kind of falling by the wayside. And then, yes, the Council of Nicaea happened in 325, and the bishop, or rather the emperor of Rome, said, yes, this is what we're going to do, and this is kind of how it was. So, now, I do want to say that this was not necessarily a bad thing. So if we think about the world at that time, the Roman Empire was beginning to collapse. It was early, it took a while, but they were collapsing. We went into the Dark Ages as a world. The vast majority of people were uneducated. So the idea of this, sort of Gnostic vision where you would work hard and you would develop spiritual maturity and we would really only know if things were good, if, you had that, became instead something very simple and not elite. I think there's a sense that the early Orthodox Christians were really trying to level the playing field and say, this religion can work for anyone. We're going to unify the Christian world. You don't have to be educated. You just have to follow these rules. And you have to listen to the bishops and the priests. But it made it accessible. And arguably, it is what allowed Christianity to continue and to be here today in, what could have otherwise been a very, very dark time. But the story continues. I'm going to jump to 1945, and I'm sure you're very happy about that because you're like, my God, she's only at 300. We're not doing the whole history. So, in 1945, there was a discovery in northern Egypt, in a town called Nag Hammadi, of some papyrus books. Now, this is not the Dead Sea Scrolls. You probably heard about the Dead Sea Scrolls. That was actually a different set of texts that was found. That was actually found in the West Bank in Palestine. And a lot of those were copies of Jewish texts in the Old Testament and that sort of thing. But the Nag Hammadi texts were unique in that they were actually Gnostic Christian writings. There were 52 different texts that were found in this giant earthenware jar. And if you want to read the story, it's like straight out of Indiana Jones, right? I mean, there was all this, found by a farmer, and then there was some nefarious doings, and they didn't want the police to catch them because they'd been doing this, and so they hid the text for a while, and then some of them ended up in the Coptic Museum in Cairo, and some of them ended up in the United States. And it was some time, therefore, before the world became aware of these Gnostic texts. It didn't happen right away. But when they were discovered and they were translated and they did start to be studied, we realized that this was a treasure of what actually was going on in early Christianity in the first 100 to 200 years after Jesus lived. A lot of different ideas, many texts that dealt with not only Gnostic thinking and philosophy, but specifically the acts of Jesus and the Gospels. So there are different Gospels in these Gnostic texts. There's a Gospel of Thomas, which is probably the best known one. It was the most complete of the ones that was found. The Gospel of Philip, the Apocalypse of Peter. So there are different teachings that include the teachings of Jesus and the things that the apostles were doing as they were wandering around with Jesus, just like we read about in our New Testament. But these were omitted from the Bible that we have today. And so we'll come back to that. But I did want to share with you from these different texts that were found at Nag Hammadi, what do we believe today were the central ideas of Gnostic Christianity? So the first one I've already talked about, and that is the idea that there is this ability of anyone to have direct and personal access to divine knowing. I think that's something that we all here feel fairly comfortable with. We talk about that in Unity a lot. The second core idea in Gnostic Christianity is that each person has a divine seed or a divine spark of knowing within them. And this seed is the substance of God. This is the substance of God within each person. The third core idea is this idea of accepting that we don't know everything. There are insights that we can gain from diverse scriptures and teachings from other religions, from other philosophies, as well as mystical insights that different members of the Gnostic movement may have had. So it was not just, there was a core teaching, there was a gospel and value of these other teachings as well, because everybody has access to the divine. And lastly, and perhaps most controversial to the early church fathers, the idea that God is both masculine and feminine. So the Gnostics were very big on the divine feminine. They believed that God expressed in a way simultaneously. God was unity, and yet God simultaneously had masculine and feminine elements. And so they had a very different view towards women, towards the ability of women to have mystical insights and to teach. And in fact, some of the Gnostic Gospels that are aware talk very much about the role of Mary Magdalene as a leading disciple of Jesus and Jesus' interactions with Mary Magdalene in a teaching setting there. So I don't know about you guys, but when I read this, I thought, well, gosh, this is not all that different than some of what we talk about here in Unity, some of what we talk about in more progressive Christianity. And so it has carried through, even though these teachings were buried. The assumption is that the teachings, the Nag Hammadi texts, were buried to protect them. because at the time, in the early, first 100 years, 200 years, everything was being burned or destroyed that was considered heretical. So these texts were put into this jar, they were buried in a field, and they were discovered, all these many thousands of years later to be able to do this. So, if at the most simple level, we think about Christianity as following or studying the teachings of Jesus at its most simple level. It's important that we know what those teachings are. And so here's radical point number 2. The Bible is highly edited. We have some wonderful teachings of Jesus in the Bible, and those are absolutely worth studying and worth knowing. And I think it's really important that we understand that there were a lot of things that were taken out. Not only things that were omitted at the get-go, like these Gnostic Gospels and other writings that were taken out, but things that have been taken out since that time. For example, and some of you may know this, but if you grew up in a Catholic church, your Bible, your Old Testament, had more books than if you grew up in a Protestant church. Because at some point during the Protestant Reformation, the leaders that be said, we don't think these books should go in the Bible, we're going to take them out. And so, that's called the Apocrypha, for those of you who are interested, and you can read those books. Some of them are complete books. The thing that's most interesting to me is, though, some of them, they have just taken portions out of existing books of the Bible, which kind of make the story a little bit harder to read. Daniel in the Old Testament is one example. So, we have the book of Daniel in the Protestant Old Testament, but there are pieces of Daniel in Apocrypha that actually tell a little bit more of the history and give context for some of the things that we read in this. So it's very interesting, but this is the history, this is the politics of what happened. So if we want to know the teachings of Jesus, what did Jesus teach, what did he say, then I think looking at these different sources becomes very, very important. It's also important to realize that today there are flourishing alternatives to, what we might consider orthodox or mainstream Christianity, the Christianity where we're hearing the sort of backlash about, with the abuses, with the politicization, and I'm thinking here about some of the contemplative traditions. I don't know how many of you are familiar with Richard Rohr, Father Richard Rohr. Just a wonderful, he's a Franciscan priest, still a Franciscan priest, hasn't been kicked out, apparently is blessed by the Pope agrees with his work, and yet he is so spiritual in a different kind of way. I'm going to read you a few quotes because I love him. One is, "The natural world is the first and primary Bible. We haven't honored it, so how can we know how to honor and properly use the second Bible once it was written?" But that idea of tuning into nature. He says, "How far can spiritual and political leaders genuinely lead us without some degree of mystical seeing and action?" So very, very Gnostic. He doesn't consider himself a Gnostic, but it comes from that same kind of tradition. The other tradition that has made sort of a comeback, if you will, and is getting a lot of attention is Celtic Christianity. So the Celts, so basically Irish and Scottish, Ireland and Scotland were never part of the Roman Empire, unlike Britain. So when all of the Christianity came from Rome after Constantine and all of that, Ireland and Scotland certainly developed Christianity, but it had a different flavor, and it did not really come under that same kind of Roman rule in the same sort of way. And so there are beautiful mystical teachings in Celtic Christianity, and again, lots of lovely writers. So if this is something that interests you and you kind of want to learn more, I would say those are two really good modern sources. So what about unity? So unity, Charles and Myrtle Fillmore, our founders, if you've read their writings, they clearly write from the Christian perspective. They talk about Christianity, they talk about the Bible, they talk about Jesus in much of their writing. Charles Fillmore, several of his books, has a book called Christian Healing. There's a book called Jesus Christ Heals. This was a big part of their philosophy. They described their movement as practical Christianity. That is how they talked about unity. And throughout the 1900s, during their life and somewhat a little bit after their life, there was a lot of debate about whether unity was a denomination per se. That was constantly going on. But there was never a debate about whether unity was Christian or not. That simply wasn't discussed. In 2007, Unity Worldwide Ministries' Statement of Identity said, "Unity is a positive, practical, progressive approach to Christianity based on the teachings of Jesus and the power of prayer." So, still kind of aligned with that original vision. Something happened in 2010, I'm not quite sure what, and I think for those of you who are sitting in these seats, as I was at the time, I joined this community in 2003, and at the time I joined it, it was called Unity Church in Lynnwood, and that's what we called it. Around 2010, and again, as someone sitting in the seats, I had no idea why, it became Unity in Lynnwood. And I noticed that, and I still kept writing my checks to Unity Church in Lynnwood because no one bothered to explain. But what it was actually a rebranding that happened at headquarters around this. And so in 2010, the Association of Unity Churches rebranded as Unity Worldwide Ministries, and Unity School of Christianity was rebranded as Unity World Headquarters. Now, all of this information that I'm talking about is actually made available in a video from Unity headquarters that came out a few months ago, earlier in the spring this year. And it's absolutely fascinating. It's about the history of unity. And if you haven't seen it, I encourage you. This is all public information about, what's our history, where did we come from, where are we going, and particularly what is the role of Christianity given its politicization today in the unity teachings. Now, I want to emphasize that nothing that I am talking about here differs from what Sally said in the beginning, which was so beautiful, is that our doors are open to everyone. We value everyone's teaching. I know that there are many people here who do not come from a Christian tradition, do not embrace a Christian tradition, but I believe that whether or not somebody chooses to identify themselves with Christianity or with a different tradition or with no tradition at all, I think we need to know the truth about the history and how the word Christianity and the term Christianity has become misused in ways that are more for people's political power. And so I do think it becomes a more inclusive thing. And I like to imagine, and I would just invite you for a moment to imagine a modern Christianity that is inclusive, not only inclusive of all people, but inclusive of all faiths, inclusive of all experiences. What would that be like to be Christian and to have that degree of inclusivity? A Christianity that is both practical and mystical. There are many of the criticisms of mainstream Christianity are that it has lost the mysticism. It has become formulaic. It has become just about morality. It has, the mystical union of the divine with the human that was the impetus in the very, very beginning, and what Jesus brought to this planet has largely been lost in many mainstream churches. So how can we reclaim that mysticism without having to go off and sit in a cave and meditate, because we still want to be practical. We still want to do the good works in the world and help uplift our brothers and sisters. A Christianity that is non-judgmental of self or others. We're all growing souls. We've had a speaker this summer that talked about our path of soul growth as we live this lifetime and how our souls grow. And lastly, playful. Again, churches have become so serious. Everything is very, very serious. And yet, I think we can read very clearly that Jesus was not serious. Jesus played, Jesus laughed, he welcomed the children, he valued the children. He said, this is how you enter the kingdom of heaven. Playfulness. There's a fantastic quote in Ecclesiastes, Old Testament. So I recommend having fun, because there is nothing better for people in this world than to eat, drink, and enjoy life. That way they will experience some happiness along with all the hard work God gives them under the sun. We don't hear that quoted a whole lot. Just saying. So, just to wrap up then, I think I'm talking about this today. Hopefully I haven't pushed too many buttons, but I think if we think about it from what's out there, what do we need to know? Why do we need to know? We need teachers, we need mentors, we need examples, which I think Jesus was a very, very profound example. And of course, he said to us, all that I do, you can do and more. My very, very favorite quote. So if that is our example of how to live, whether or not, again, we identify with a Christian tradition or no tradition at all, I think there are things that we can learn from a broader sense of Christianity that is not just always down this narrow lane, that in fact has had a breadth of traditions from the very beginning. So I will end with a quote from another radical priest, Bishop John Shelby Spong, the late Bishop John Shelby Spong, who's a wonderful writer. And he says, "The task of religion is not to turn us into proper believers. It's to deepen the personal within us, to embrace the power of life, to expand our consciousness in order that we might see things that the eyes do not normally see." So if you would just close your eyes for a moment, and let's take that into meditation briefly, where we want to land in this human incarnation is seeing beyond what the human eyes normally see. Seeing that light and that life that is in every aspect of our world. The trees, the plants, the rocks, the animals and the people, all divine, perfect expressions of the life, the energy, the intelligence that is God. And as we tune within, as we just breathe into ourselves, knowing that divine seed, that divine spark in us that is God, leading us ever forward in our knowingness, in our awareness, in our perfect life. So we give thanks for our blessings, thanks for all that is, thanks for this amazing world. And we know that we are blessed, and so it is. Amen.
Yes. Thank you, Jennifer. You offered us a lot of rich material to think about there. So this is the time when we ask for your support. We offer opportunities to practice giving and receiving that we might cooperate with the reciprocal nature of the spiritual universe. In other words, while your giving matters to us, we suggest that it matters to you as well. Electronic giving options are on your screen. For those choosing to give a physical gift, the ushers will gratefully pass baskets. If you are on site and prefer to give by credit card, there is an electronic giving station located out outside in the hall, right? Yeah, outside in the hall. And you can give that way if you wish. If you would like information about UIL's programs of regular giving, planned giving, or legacy giving, please take a Giver's Circle brochure or write the Board of Trustees directly. For those already participating, we extend a special thanks. So please join me in our affirmation as it appears on the screen. I give freely and fearlessly, fulfilling the law of giving and receiving.
Blessed always, blessed always, for the arms of God surround us. Let our joy be so triumphant that we rest in God and say amen. Blessed always, blessed always, for the arms of God surround us. Let our joy be so triumphant that we rest in God and say
I want to just take a moment to ask if there's anybody here for the first time. Is there anybody here for the first time? Yes? Okay. Welcome. Welcome. So for you and for anybody who is newer and who hasn't had these opportunities yet, just like to make sure that you know that we have available as a gift these daily word brochures, which are, this is an undated version that is full of affirmations and prayers and uplift. So we'd like to give you one of those. There are also resources in your chair back in front of you. If you'd like to give us your email, we will send an email a couple of times a month, not more. It's not like mass emails, just to let you know what's going on in this very vibrant community. Okay, so now invitations. Please consider the offerings of UIL's small group and interfaith ministries as they appear on your screen. And if you would register for all events that you're interested in by visiting the calendar page at www.unityinnlynnwood.org, that will let people know how many people are coming to these events. If you have a compliment or a comment, please write welisten@unityinnlynnwood.org. We are here for you. Third Sundays are Giver's Circle Sundays. Consistent financial support provides helpful data to our Board of Trustees. Please click the repeat box on any giving platform or grab a Giver's Circle brochure as you leave if you'd like to join the Giver's Circle. For all gifts given, we are ever thankful. As Jennifer already mentioned, next week is our picnic, and it will be in the parking lot outside, so celebrate with us at our annual all-community picnic and volunteer recognition. And bring a favorite side dish or a treat to share. Our generous Board of Trustees will be providing the hamburgers and hot dogs on the grill. And there will be shuttle service from the Fred Meyer parking lot all morning long, so because the parking space will be limited, because we're going to have games and things for the kids to do as well. Nature walks are also a part of this event. Would you like to be more involved in our community? We have many ways to be of service. This is a great way to meet people, make connections, and become an integral part of the great things that are happening here at Unity in Lynnwood. We encourage everyone to take a look at the list of opportunities back there where Michelle is standing at the Welcome and Information Station. There's a list of things that you can sign up for, some of which are only occasional and don't take too much of your time. Some of other things are maybe once a month or something like that. So there's a whole variety of things back there to take a look at and see if you'd like to be part of. Flower dedications. Our beautiful flowers today are dedicated to John and Barbara Thorpe, and they have dedicated them in honor of their 58th year of marriage. So congratulations. And thanks to Callie for the beautiful arrangement. As usual, you always do a great job, Callie. If you would like to make a flower dedication, you can do so in our gift shop or by writing administration@unityinlynnwood.org. The suggested love offering for a flower donation is $25. And now, finally, I would like to invite Nancy Merrill to the stage to come and talk to us about the healing prayer service this coming Wednesday. Thank you.
I don't know about being up here, but okay. So, I'm here to invite you to join me this coming Wednesday for my favorite thing in all the world. We're going to do a healing service that was done and taught by Dr. Ernest Holmes. It was used every Sunday by ministers and practitioners. And it was in these healing services where I found the most profound and permanent healings taking place in all the 50 years. There were not only amazing healings, people learned how to be their own practitioners, which created more healings. And so this is how it's going to look. This is what we're going to do. While you are writing your prayer request on a piece of paper, I will briefly, and I mean briefly, share with you how to pray, what makes it work, and what gets in its way. And I can do that in 10 minutes. I was a licensed practitioner since 1981. And I'm here to tell you that is never, ever anything complicated about prayer, and that anybody could do it. And the 5 years training that I had to get there can be taught to you in 20 minutes. The 5 years was to live it and to be it. So your requests will be brought to me, and then they will be prayed on anonymously. I don't even want to know who I'm praying for. And they will be done in the first person so that you can follow along. And so you're going to be praying with me. And so I ask that you bring your healing consciousness or your desire for a better healing consciousness, or bring your needs to be healed, or maybe even maintained. I pray for that daily, to maintain where I am. And of course, an open mind and heart. I'll see you on Wednesday.
Oh, I'm so looking forward to that. It's going to be good. All right. So I want to talk about our prayer chaplains right now. Prayer is the foundation of everything that we do at Unity, and we have wonderful prayer chaplains here in service, both in the sanctuary as well as online. If you are part of our virtual audience, I encourage you to write prayer@unityinlynnwood.org, provide your telephone number, and you will get a call from a prayer chaplain in the next couple hours. If you are here in the sanctuary, after service, come on up here in the front and find one of our prayer chaplains, and they would be absolutely delighted to pray with you. Can I ask our prayer chaplains in service today to please stand? Dana, thank you. Marge. All right, and let's just close with that technology we call prayer, which is tuning in once again to that divine presence and knowing that we have everything we need in this moment for our perfect life, for our perfect connection with God, and for our perfect ability to serve others that we encounter this day, throughout this week. And we give thanks. And we'll close, as we always do, with some words of blessing.
May the long time sun shine upon you, all love surround you, and the pure light within you guide your way on, guide your way on, guide your way on.
Thank you, everyone. Have a wonderful week.